Secret brought in Zayats to kind of stand in for Yapster because of his personal issues. It was like, okay, unfortunately, Rezo and Zayats don't get to play together, but now it's like, okay, Secret, not the best results. And that kind of that opportunity for Rezo and Zayats to rejoin, play together once again. They already put up a pretty good showing, I think, in Riyadh. I think this is a pretty scary looking team.
Mhm. Yeah, I'd agree. If you didn't get the chance to catch their games over at Riyadh, there's definitely a couple of odds worth watching. I mean, everyone speaks very highly about LGD for very good reason. They certainly showed their prowess at Texas. They're not joining us here, of course. Aster, the only Chinese team here at the tournament, but Secret were able to hand a really quick, like I'm talking 50 minutes combined 2-0 victory against LGD. So they have looked really, really good in the past, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they kind of progress as a team in this tournament throughout it, and of course into the TI qualifiers. But over to Thunder, a team who's actually already qualified to the international, so we won't be seeing them in September. We did see them, however, just in Arlington Gods, of course, without Dark Mago.
Yeah, and I mean, alone, a great young, promising player. But something I think you said that I found really cool is just like how much the team changed when they don't have Dark Mago. Because it felt like Thunder Awakening played some good Dota, but they didn't look like the same team from when you were kind of covering them during the SADPC.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. I think that was. It's and we do have a couple stand-ins here. It should be stated, but of course, with everything going on, it was a bit hard to get everyone over to Texas. Is how that one worked out, and it's kind of a shame because I think for Thunder especially, because when you lose your mid laner, I think any team is going to lose a big chunk of their identity naturally. But Dark Malgo is such a tempo setter for this team. I'll be sure to kind of highlight that in game with the sort of plays he makes. But Pakaz is the rock of this team. He is super super stable. They like to draft around him. He is the win condition. Panda usually picks these hard position fives, like hard carry position fives where they carry the lane to make sure Pakaz can go jungle for 20 minutes. Dark Mago then makes these crazy game making plays here for the first 20, and then Pakaz eventually comes online. And that's kind of how the team dominated SADPC all 3 seasons. They did lose that first regional finals to Beast Coast, but from there, I think they went like 20 probably like 20-1 across all 3 seasons of DPC. I mean, they were unstoppable, so it was a shame not to see them at full form in Texas.
Yeah, like I remember coming in and doing some of those early pounds of day games, and for a lot of like viewers who maybe don't follow SA Dota, like the team most people think of is going to be East Coast, but Thunder Awaken have been the number one team in SA for, like you say, like the entire year essentially. But obviously, the story at Arlington was about Beast Coast, and they're another great top 6 run. Unfortunately, I do think a big part of that is kind of what you're saying. Not having Dark Mago just makes such a big difference. So this is a tournament where I think Thunder Awaken, a top 3, a top 4 is very realistic. Like this is depending on like their approach to this tournament, it may just be like they want to try some new stuff. The saving strats for TI is it's a bit of a meme, but also there's some truth to it. You don't want to like go all out and burn out before TI happens. You do want to kind of slowly build up. As the lead up to TI happens, so we'll see kind of what kind of form Thunder Awaken are in.
Yeah, for sure. I think you brought up Beast Coast. Thunder not invited to the tournament. Secret was one of the invites. Thunder actually came through the SA qualifiers, where they actually bested Beast Coast in a best of 5 grand finals to get here. So once again, just proving that they have been the better team, at least online in South America, right? Is what we can definitively say
Yeah.
about SA this season. I think Beast Coast did have a beautiful story arc, of course, at Arlington with paying back the debt to our good old Arturito. Very glad to see how that one worked out, but it's going to be really cool to see how Thunder move out here. And of course, because you have mentioned it, we still are on the same patch as Arlington, just to kind of get that out there in case, some people don't follow the patch notes too quickly. I think you and I are basically fiends in that department, whereas not everyone will be. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? We had some excellent games at Arlington. I think the meta's in a pretty healthy place, and you can kind of afford to go for a few different play styles. There's some healthy cheese in meta. I always like to see that.
Yeah, and it's I think one of those any patch, even when it's not changing, you'll see stuff come in and out of favor. Like going into Arlington, I don't think people thought Chen was going to be one of the most successful contested heroes. It wasn't until the tournament started and people just kept winning with him. It was like, oh wait, Chen's pretty good. Hey, Earthshaker, this hero is actually back as well. So it may be that we're going to see a lot of Chen Earthshaker, but it may also be that teams are like, maybe not. So stuff just comes in and out based on team player preference and based on the trends of a given tournament. This tournament's going to have its own meta that could likely be very different to Arlington.
Yeah, and we'll see how that meta begins to evolve as we are now ready to get underway with our first draft of the day of the tournament here between Team Secret and Thunder Awaken now live on your screens. We've got Secret on Radiant and Thunder with first pick on Dire. Speaking of the tournament meta, Dire, I think having something like a 59% win rate during the Arlington Major. Do you expect we're going to still see Dire be as strong as it seemed to be there?
I think so. It's one of those weird things. Like, as someone who I mostly watch competitive Dota, I don't, I'm not playing competitive Dota. It's hard to like fully understand the Radiant versus Dire advantages, except when you're talking to players. So, at the same time, I feel like most teams agree Dire is stronger, but I've heard a different reason from like 5 different teams. Will give 5 different reasons for why Dire is better. So, I do think Dire is going to be the stronger side, though.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested because I think it depends. Oh, and by the way, it's cool to see Dark Mago, make that Panda playing the Winter Wyvern yet again. He has been pubbing with it. He did finally win an official with Winter Wyvern at the Major, and he actually tweeted about it. It's kind of an SA deep cut at this stage, but back when they were, they were no ping back then, and they were playing the final game of the DPC. This was kind of the roster that infamously called GG about 15 to 20 minutes into the game, and Panda was playing the Wyvern, so it was very much a hero that he had negative connotations with because he was the player to call the early GG. So it's good to see him kind of back in full confidence and playing a hero that he was really, really stellar at during kind of his Animajor run right before TI. Really, really cool to see this from Thunder.
Yeah. It's funny how stuff like that can get in your head, though. Like, you'll have full faith in here, and then you lose a terrible game with it, and then you just won't want to play it for a little while.
Yeah, for sure, and I think Panda's been like completely just kind of open and honest about that, and it's been a rather difficult process for him. I caught up with him at Stockholm, and again, it's been I think 3 seasons in DPC where they haven't picked it, so it's pretty cool now that they are breaking it out at the Major, and of course now here right before kind of before TI anyway for them.
Yep. And as I was saying, new tournament, totally different meta. Marcy Razor, I've never seen this opening before. This is totally new stuff coming out from Team Secret, right? Right, Richie?
Of course, right. Marcy Razor, very, very strong lane, super strong counter pick into the Wyvern. Hard counters the Cold Embrace. Marcy gives 5 seconds of increased move speed. Razor loves move speed. He's got a whole skill dedicated to that. It's going to be a pretty brutal side lane coming through. We'll see how Thunder can look to respond. New meta.
Yeah, I think Razor's just one of these heroes you can jam into almost any draft. This hero alone has forced like every offlane player to like have to kind of adapt to this new like semi carry or even like full carry from the offlane. I don't really feel like there's any offlane players who are exclusively playing like the old school like blink stun tanky offlaner initiator role anymore. Like FBZ was the closest to it with Boom, but even he had to have several games where he was playing Vipers and Razors at Arlington just because these are the heroes that you need to play in the offlane. You can't just rely on these Marses and Centaurs anymore.
Yeah, very true. It does kind of feel like we're in a sort of dual core kind of meta right now. Maybe even sometimes tri-core with like your Pucks, your Void Spirits going Witchblade, Kaya, and Sanj on top. It can feel a little bit oppressive, certainly at times. But speaking of oppressive, here is going to be a hero for Sacred. He's one of the stronger Timbers in SA, I have to say. He just pubbed with it as well on a win, which is great because he's been losing all of his pubs as soon as he landed here in Malaysia. So I'm sure having a winner right before your first match versus Secret of all teams is going to do well. I also do like the Timber into Razor quite a bit. A hero with plenty of nuke, plenty of pure damage throughout the game, who can certainly kind of bring the fight right back to Razor and maybe give him second doubts about going in, which is really, I think, how you break the Razor.
Yeah. Yeah, you have that burst. You also have that ability to kind of tank through a lot of Razor's damage, just because Timbersaw naturally gets very tanky, high armor if you've got those passive stacks. So you're not just going to instantly melt to a BKB Razor that runs in. Plus, breaking the chain, the static link with your Timber chain always a bonus and a positive. So We'll see how they. I feel like the big question is always like what carry to pick, like because there's no carries that feel good into Razor. It almost just feels like you're just trying to
Thunder Predators
pick a carry, like
carrying
illusion
secrets
style
turn
carry
to
that can then
ban.
go into the jungle to catch up. The one that the Chinese region loved to pick at the major and during DPC China was the Faceless Void, but Secretive banned that out. So realistically, like I don't think any teams figured out, hey, this counters Razor. There's no like rock paper scissors answer to Razor as a hero right now.
Yeah, for sure.
10
I just want
seconds
to quick
remaining.
take a quick nod towards all the bans that we're seeing. Some of these are very player
5
specific.
seconds remaining.
While I think Morphling doesn't have a terrible matchup versus Razor by any means, he's not the most popular pick. But if you're Pakaz, it certainly is.
Team
For him,
secrets
it's
turn
called
to
El
pick.
Prohibido, which translates to the Forbidden One, because he is that good, really, at Morphling. He's one of those players where wherever he picks it, it just the hero looks completely broken, right? He's just getting the perfect morph every single time, morphing just enough
Yep.
strength. It's ridiculous. The tiny Viper being a
10
huge flex for
seconds
Thunder
remaining.
because Panda actually, I think he's still top 5 in NA because he plays
5
position 5
seconds
Viper.
remaining.
He was the one to kind of engineer that and bring it to the main stage not Kiev. Yes, it was Kiev at the Anime Major, pardon me. So lots of history here in these bans. And
Thunder
Pakaz
Predators
TB
turn
being
to
banned out, which might have been a hint here to what Secret's thinking for their carry pick. A couple of illusion heroes, Morph and TB, being banned out.
Yeah, I think definitely these are some of the heroes that do better against Razor than most. As far as what
10
they're maybe
seconds
thinking for their
remaining.
carry. I mean, yeah, stuff that doesn't like playing into illusion, stuff that's bad against the
5
void. But
seconds
when you pick
remaining.
an Ogre Magi like this is kind of a puppy classic. This is just puppy saying, I'm going to win my carry his lane. I feel like almost any carry is going to feel pretty good about their lane when they've got an Ogre on their side, even when they see Timbersaw
Thunder
in the lane.
Predators turn to pick.
The Weaver for Thunder might end up being
Ooh.
here for El Gotito for Matthew. Could be a position 4 Weaver. This is the region, though, that has been playing a ton of carry Weaver alongside Western Europe. I think that's
Yep.
slightly fallen off for Western Europe, just ever so slightly. Still saw a bit of him at the major.
10
But I
seconds
believe at Thunder's games in Texas, Weaver was banned like
5
16
seconds
times
remaining.
against him, and I'm not sure how many more games than 16 they played, Gods.
It would have only been maybe 20-ish or 25 at most. And they're playing it I mean, you mentioned it could be 4 position or carry. Do you feel like they do it more in either role from what you've seen?
Team secrets
I think they do
turn
like to
to
run it
pick.
carry, as we'll see the
Okay.
Snapfire, which could be mid, very much so for Dark Mago.
Yeah.
They also will occasionally run it off lane. They still really
Thunder
think that the Ag
Predators
Scepter
turn to
is
battle.
very strong, even though it has been nerfed quite a bit since its last, we had Weaver every game rushing Vessel Ags. It's not quite as strong as that, but Thunder still certainly see a lot of value in the hero.
Yeah, it's kind of cool that their draft is pretty flexible. I think that's the hardest part
10
when you have
seconds
first
remaining.
pick is that middle picking stage where you're kind of going to
5
blindly pick.
seconds remaining.
Like where they pick Weaver Snapfire, it's like you don't know. I mean, you know where your enemy's laying things, but you're picking basically your carry or your mid. You're picking a lot of cores, not knowing what the enemy mid
Team
or carry is going to
secrets
be. So
turn
they're
to
the hardest
ban.
picks of the draft, and the best way to solve that is by picking these heroes that can go into multiple roles. You mentioned the Weaver, Snapfire can go into support, can go mid, can go off lane. They can still flex the Timber between mid as well as off lane. So there's a lot of flexibility with Thunder's picks here.
For sure. I think most teams would be able to
10
flex a
seconds
Timber,
remaining.
maybe even the Wyvern mid, right? Is still very viable these days with how strong an item
seconds
Witchblade
remaining.
is. Because it's Dark Mago, infamously the 3 hero pool kind of guy. If it's not Bat, Kunkka,
Yeah.
Ember, he's not playing it. He has expanded since then. I must add, he has really worked hard at that since the Animator, when this was like a really big meme, kind of. But I'd be surprised. I'd be really surprised if it was a Wyvern or a Timber mid. Something like a Mars mid is more his style. He's even worked a lot on his Tinker, but I don't think he's quite that flexible yet.
Thunder
Anyway, I think he's
Predators
still growing in
turn
that
to
role.
ban.
Yep. No, that is a good point, and that can sometimes be for I think some of these teams like a Thunder Awaken who's mostly played their kind of online Dota within their region. They're getting more experience internationally. Their players like Dark Mag are going to want to stick with that comfort. They don't have that
10
experience
seconds
of a
remaining.
player like a Puppy or Resolution who've been playing
secrets turn
international
to
competitive
ban.
Dota for like half their lives.
Yeah, no, very true. Especially for Puppy. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. He is quite the imposing figure as well. I saw him for the first time in Riyadh. Tall man, nearly 2 meters tall.
Yeah.
It's wow. And the machete he carries around as well, 3 meters long. I mean, my goodness, an imposing figure to be certain. But we'll see what they end up picking here. I do believe Thunder are going to try and run this Weaver in the safe lane with this Doom and DP band specifically. DP, a very good band against the Timbersaw hero that definitely does kind of neuter his early game. Thunder probably looking for a mid. Secrets band's alluding to that as well. Still in the pool here for Dark Mago. Not the Bat Rider. The Kunkka's still here, but into a Razor that might be a little rough. Oh, they've got their pick. It is the Mars mid for Dark Mago then.
All right. Mars in the mid lane. This is, I mean, likely into the Bat Rider. It doesn't sound like the easiest of lanes. You can always try and spear the Bat Rider away when he goes on you, but like, I feel like this Bat Rider could be in for a very good time unless we see some kind of like switch up with these lanes.
And I do believe,
as I say that, they're doing Void Spirit mid, Bat Rider off lane.
That's right.
Never mind.
Yeah, and I think that's probably maybe Chris. I don't know who makes the call. I didn't know Christos was drafting for the team. Maybe he just presses the buttons. But I'm not sure actually. I'm be curious because I think Mars Bat Rider is actually not so bad for the Mars. Mars got pretty good wave clear. Like you said, he has the spear, and spear is not that weak in the mid lane. You can almost always push back the Bat Rider underneath his own tower or skewer him to a lot of the cliffs around the mid lane. So it kind of makes you, the matchup a bit more skill dependent. I was actually quite looking forward to that, but we still have a treat. It'll be Nisha instead on the Void Spirit versus the Mars mid.
Yeah, this is, I mean, in many ways, just as scary a lane with the Bat Rider plus Marcy. I think sending the Void mid just gives them a bit more of like an early playmaker. Sometimes the Bat mid can feel a bit slower, more farmy. You want to get your boots of travel, then you want to get BKB. Often the Blink Rush is kind of a old forgotten build. So this gives Secret just a bit of a faster paced draft. Like they can just fight a lot earlier. Of course, the meme with Secret was they'll just picking Crystallis Razor every single game for a while. So, not a huge shock to see him playing the Razor instead of the offlane Razor in Rezor's hands. And I think this is going to be a game where both drafts want to fight a lot very early on. Like neither team's gone like very all in on the late game here.
Yeah, certainly, and I think something that might be a little bit scary for Secret is that if they do end up going to the late game, I actually think this Weaver, certainly not a free Weaver game by any means, with a Bat Rider, in the pool. But, you get that Lincoln Sphere up, maybe you get a BKB, so you can kind of just ignore the Void Spirit, and I'm not really sure what locks you down into the late game here for Thunder. I think Secret might be a little bit more eager to end this game than Thunder Awaken will be.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think they've really, all three of their cores, they basically drafted to give this Razor a worse game. This Razor's going to be very reliant on getting a lot out of his BKB timing because, Weaver plus Timber both have escapes from the static link. Mars can spear you away if you're not BKB'd, so there's no, easy, reliable enemy carry that you just get on top of and just drain all their damage and just, carry the game as a Razor on. I definitely, totally agree with what you're saying. I don't think Secret won this game dragging out too much. It will take some time for Weaver to get those items, like Lincoln's BKB, that's 2 defensive items. You want to get some damage along the way, so it's always that fine balancing act between, when you get the defensive items versus, you need to also do some damage.
Yeah. And that's the problem with Weaver. For the first time, I really hated, first item Lincolns. And I think I'm still in the camp where I think that is not such a great build for Weaver. That Maelstrom is super clutch for this hero in terms of their farm potential. But yeah, you do, I think, need those 2 defensive items for you to be truly well and free this game. We'll see here what kind of pressure Secret can look to apply in the early game to look to slow that momentum.
Bit of a clash over some of these runes, but Marcy doing Marcy things, bouncing away, so we'll see how these early lanes and rune battles go.
That should be, looks like Secret bullying them away from bottom rune, and Thunder taking the 2 top runes here without much fight. Did see already a D ward early. Thunder did manage to snipe Secret's early ward, which they put here on the cliff. Drawing's not really showing up, so that one got taken out. So slight vision advantage here in the early game for Thunder. At least they'll have a little bit of a heads up potentially when this Marcy looks to rotate away from her lane.
Yeah, we'll see how early that happens. I think when you look at a mid matchup like Mars and Void Spirit, both of these heroes, they're probably going to be trading blows a lot. Mars wants to use his God's Rebuke anytime Void Spirit comes up, so these runes are going to be very important. And even doing early rotations for for the bounty runes can be very effective as well.
Yeah, certainly. Especially denying a mid laner like the Nisha Void Spirit. His bottle refill might make things a bit more difficult. Mara's certainly a tanky hero, can dish out plenty of damage, nukes the waves. Can make things unpalatable for a mid laner without any bottle regeneration available. The Razor lane here, again, pairing him with the Puppy Ogre. Puppy doing a pretty good job just doing Ogre things, which is bully the enemy position 4 out of lane, especially a hero that's not too strong in the first couple of levels, at least as strong as an Ogre.
Yeah, just doing cool little things here. Like he pulls the big camp away so that Matthew Snapfire can't get that pull off. At least he's still going to go for it. He might get it nonetheless. But
oh yeah, he does.
Okay, never mind. I thought Puppy had kind of messed that one up, but the Centaur stun with the plasma field, they get the way back. These side lanes are just so much about whether or not you can get these successful pulls off. A big camp getting pulled is just like a lane-winning play in so many ways.
Yeah, no, it really is. And at the same move, right, the same stroke, Puppy also pulls the easy camp here and even pulls the hard camp back into it. That's going to force the lane under tower here for Chrysalis, who is going to do just fine and makes things more difficult for Sacred. Even though he does have this early point in the Timber Chain, right, which is not too crazy for Timber Saws. It's very much the norm. Still doesn't want to get too close to this Razor in the early levels.
Yeah, so far, nothing too much cooking down this bottom lane. There's just this constant zoning from Puppy, doing a really good job leaving Timber on an island, but I think if you're Thunder, you're okay with this, because it's Timber Soul. If anything, Timber getting like more solo XP is often what you want to do with this lane, so I think this lane's kind of going according to plan for them. Obviously, they'd like Sacred to have a bit more CS, but the levels is the important thing.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely agree with you there. It feels like there's just almost no safe laners in the meta right now that can withstand the amount of damage and pressure Timbersaw pumps out when he hits the Chakram up and a Soul Ring. It's just, what do you do?
Yep. We'll see once they get a couple more levels, but looking at some of these other lanes, top lane, there's going to be some serious kill threat, I think, coming in soon. I mean, it's kind of already there. It's more if, like, you know, if Weaver ever, Shikuchi goes on cooldown and he's out of position, he's almost guaranteed dead level 1 Shikuchi with a really long cooldown. So Pakaz, you know, he's played this Weaver carry before. He knows how to use and basically save that Shikuchi. Otherwise, of course, yeah, you do get jumped on.
Yep. Yeah, and although there is a lot of kill potential to be sure, especially now with the first points in Dispose and Rebound on Zayats, lots of stick charges for Pakaz. So you got to make sure you get it right. That's the tricky thing about being in a Bat Rider, isn't it? Is you end up giving a full wand to your enemies.
Yeah. And this Weaver, he's already got, like, gloves plus Band of Elventon coming out. So if you mess up your engagement, he's going to do a lot of damage and just turn and fight you. So I don't think you can afford to go on him unless you're guaranteed to get the kill, because otherwise the turnaround potential with, what, 14 plus 1 charges is going to be brutal.
Yeah. Especially with the move speed slow coming out from Panda on that Arctic Burn. Still a very, pretty mean laner. Used to be one of the weaker laners, because mostly you would just push lanes and piss off your safe laner, but now with the additional Arctic Burn flight time, there's a lot more moves you get to make in lane. As a Wyvern. And speaking of moves, Zayats is going to go ahead and rotate mid, ensuring Secret get both water runes at the 4-minute mark.
Yep. Definitely annoying for Dark Mago and his game, but nothing too crippling. Just, I think it's good recognition. Like Zayats, he's like, okay, Rezer's not getting much in lane right now. He's, you know, doing some pulls and he doesn't need me. I'm going to go just deny a rune away from this Mars.
Courier does get killed by Nisha. The biggest deal. As both mid laners continue to trade blows just before level 6. Dark Mago, though, feeling a bit stronger. That's maybe hopefully a visual bug. That was a little bit weird. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, so I think if you God's Rebuke as they're being speared, it still connects with the stun, but it doesn't push them. So he speared him into the tower.
Right.
But he God's Rebuked him like mid-spear. I think it's like a mechanic of how Mars works that's kind of buggy.
Oh,
by buggy, I mean, I don't know if it's intended or not.
Yeah. Because of the force movement on God's Rebuke messing with Spear's force movement. Ah, I see. Something like all these forced movement spells like Pudge Hook, right? They bring up so many broken or seemingly broken, unintended maybe mechanics in the game, don't they? It's always fun to see.
Yeah,
players
it's like
discover
what
them.
overrides what. It's like if the spear doesn't go through, why are you still stunned? You know, it's like it's one thing to like interrupt the spear, but at the same time, it's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
How's that work in terms of physics?
Oh, there's no way off of Mars Spear ride, I suppose, right? It's a one-way ticket
Yes.
once you're on that thing. No brakes on that train as Puppy and Zayats are going to go and invade the triangle now, where they will find Matthew. 6 minutes here, just about, without a kill, and it seems like that drought will now end as Nisha is going to astral step on over to secure the kill onto Matthew. Dark Mago's here, though, and has the arena, maybe even looking to turn. Panda's TP'd on over to the mid lane. Nisha, though, still has another astral step, and the dissemblate will be able to at least get out of the arena up to his own high ground. Dark Mago will not chase blind uphill this early, usually gets a blink dagger before he does that. Puppy and Zayats also able to evacuate the enemy high ground. That is going to just be a clean kill then for Secret with the first arena from Dark Mago, not really accounting to much.
Yeah, a bit ambitious. I don't know if he just like in his head like he knew maybe Nisha had used a astral step earlier in lane, but they, the cooldown comes up very quickly there, so they weren't particularly close to killing Nisha there. Wyvern's just not the best hero to rotate in and chain stun, so perhaps now though Nisha getting pushed back, but again he's astral steps back up, so he's going to get easily back to safety. So a lot of pressure around this mid lane, but Nisha, he's coping with it just fine.
Sacred did Timber Chain aggressively here. Chrysalis going for the 2 points in the static link, 2 in the plasma field. Does at least dispatch of this first wagon down bottom? That's always the question, right? You see 3 heroes mid lane for a team. You always have to question what's the response in the side lanes. Bottom, decent levels on Chrysalis, is already up to level 6, has beaten even Sacred to level 6, so can lane a bit longer here. But top lane, it's a much different story, Gods. Pakaz is actually the one here with 10 denies against the Batrider. Batrider was 6, though, not doing too poorly himself as Rezo.
Oh, mid lane.
Yeah, they do look for a kill mid. Nice job by Zayats, interrupting, potentially even turning here. But Dark Mago with the infused raindrops, a bit too tanky. Now will drop the arena, does trap Zayats inside. There's going to be the spear connecting and a kill. Make that 2 in favor of Thunder, as they also collect a kill down bottom on a Chrysalis.
Yeah, perhaps the bigger kill. That's the enemy carry getting brought down. I guess it looked like it was just the Wyvern plus Timber, but a lot of early rotations coming in from these Thunder Awaken supports. That, this is one of the big strengths of picking Weaver as a carry. It's this carry you can just kind of leave alone on an island. Always has that double escape mechanism with both Shikuchi and Timelapse, so they don't need to continue to kind of secure his farm and his lane, and they get to make these aggressive rotations.
Yep. And Pakaz, the Weaver expert again, definitely a hero that Thunder have looked to, at least for this make that the third DPC tour, pretty consecutively. He's got the build down. Maelstrom into Lincoln Sphere for him, so going for his farming item first. There is a smoke play down, however, heading towards Chrysalis. They might look to kill him a second time, but no, they lose vision. They're not really sure where he's gone. Instead, the ward is going to scout Puppy. I don't really know if Thunder can get anything too crazy off of this smoke play. We have a DD in the bottle, though. Nisha is certainly a tantalizing target. The cookie, not going to find him, though.
It's so hard to make that play.
Oh, and now
Dark Mago may get punished.
Yeah, the turn as well, as they're going to toss him back into the Aether Remnant, and an easy kill. Rezo TP's mid, gives them the necessary control with the lasso, and there is going to be a big punish on a Dark Mago. Didn't use the DD rune, though, but is still going to die out of the smoke.
That initiation of Void Sphere, I think the only way it works is like you do the Saberlight, where you spear first and you arena while the spear's midair. I think the cookie is just too telegraphed. It's such an easy dodge for Nisha there. And unfortunately, Secret, not only, is Nisha, ready to outplay it, if anything, Secret knew it was coming, because Rezo, it felt like he was there before the initiation even happened. So they were ready to punish.
And Puppy is going to give his life here for a D ward. Does give it to Dark Mago in the end. But basically just a kill for a D-ward, nothing big there. I didn't want to take note on the skill the Chrysalis is going for bottom. Definitely, Timbersaw, not really a hero you can expect to get a full static link on too easily. But going for Plasma Field in this lane also, 1, is going to be the faster farm build, but 2, also allows you to clear waves. It's not every day where you see a Timber really struggle to get onto a tower this late into the laning stage. As they are on top of, however, Matthew. He is going to be in a big trouble, as Nisha will secure the kill with an Astral Step. Panda, short of level 6, can't really look to turn, but it is Sacred who TP's mid as they look for the kill onto Puppy. Great spear from Dark Mago with the DD active. He will collect the kill, as well as a haste rune now for his bottle. Could look to make another play with that when Arena's back up.
Everyone on the Thunder side getting involved. Even the Weaver was rotating on over. I think they really want to make sure they don't give Secret this early momentum and let Secret come in, take over their jungle. They understand like the strength of their draft and how once Weaver kind of hits these key item timings, we touched a bit upon like the get the Maelstrom, Lincolns, and a BKB, and at some point you're just going to be able to carry this game. Razor's, this Razor is going to be kind of put in this position to try and solo carry as Razor. The Razor to me is this core that wants to be one of like 2 or 3 cores. And Razor's even died once this game, so it's not looking like the dream game for Crystallis.
Yeah, no, it's not. I believe he has Falcon Blade on the way. Yeah, indeed, with a couple of allies coming to try and gank Sacred, but Sacred's going to catch a whiff of this one, and I believe he's just going to